Good morning, everyone present. And today we have with us Mr. Shanmugasundaram, who has been an alumni of JGLS class of 2021. He is also a fellow member of the Institute of Company Secretaries of India and the Indian Institute of Banking Certified Professional in NBFCs. He has a wide range of experience of over 24 years in compliance, legal and corporate governance domains in various sectors such as consulting, manufacturing, IT, and financial services, also fertilizers and chemical industry. He has worked in reputed blue chip companies, including Cognizant, Panasonic, TVS Group, and Hinduja Group. So we are so delighted to have him with us. Right now, he is working. Just give me a second. Right now, sir is working with Murugappa Group, Coromandel International Limited as a senior associate, vice president, and company secretary. His current remit includes corporate governance, compliance of corporate and securities laws, M&A, and governance of overseas subsidiaries. Over the years, he has mentored various young students who have now grown into successful professionals. And his recent contribution was on the governance and compliance standard on prevention, prohibition, and readdressal of sexual harassment at workplace. His achievements in 24 years can't be wrapped up in this introduction. So, sir, if there is something that you wish to add, please let us know.
Yeah, thank you, Apurva, for the opportunity to contribute to JGLS. It's been a wonderful opportunity, and I think you have summed up everything. I think we can proceed further.
Yes, sir. Sir, so I just wanted to know from you that according to you, what are the various career avenues available for legal professionals? So what do you think are the things that these students should start preparing from now on and should, pursue?
Yeah, to give some opening remarks, I would say it's truly inspiring to join and address, the students of JGLS actually who has chosen this path, and they are on an exciting journey, and they are going to build a wealth of experience, wisdom, and insight in their career path. So, in terms of career avenues available for legal professionals, there are multiple avenues actually, whether they want to be in private practice. It could be in civil, criminal, or corporate laws, or it is going to be in corporate employment. It can be legal, they can be legal officers, legal heads, and there are quite a few niche areas as well in practice. They can be patent attorneys, tax attorneys, real estate lawyers, and there are emerging areas like fintech space and IT consulting, where the more orientation is towards technology, laws, and all that. So there are various avenues available for these students to choose their, career path, and they can even choose in some of the niche areas, as I have mentioned, actually. And there are certain sectors which require very specialized knowledge, such as, financial services, fintech, technology industries, pharma industries. So it's a very broad and wide range of, opportunities available. So one has to decide as to which is the focus area they want to choose and pursue.
All right, sir. Sir, so what do you think are the essential skill sets like needed for lawyer in addition to the academic qualification? Do you think that with your experience, if you can tell us that what is more that they should, look at, or they should, start developing that skill?
Yeah, in terms of skill sets, I would say that reading is a very important skill. They need to, students have to get themselves exposed to varied, reading on varied subjects. Actually, need not be relating only to law. They can read, diverse subjects like economics, biographies, political histories. A lot of areas they need to read, basically, so that it helps in many ways. One is that they will have a very good communication skills. They will build a strong vocabulary, and it will also help them to think in a very broad and diverse manner, because analytical thinking and problem solving is one of the essential skills of lawyers, basically. So
Yes,
these
sir.
kind of reading will help them a lot. It'll happen over a period of time. It's not going to happen overnight. So it will also help them in their drafting skills because they might be working in different sectors. They may be writing to different, audiences. So reading in a wide range of subjects helps them a lot. And similarly, analytical aptitude is one thing and where they need to, in their, once they qualify and they get into their professional work, they need to have the creative problem solving abilities. They will handle a lot of challenges. Some of the matters which they might handle might be unprecedented or that might not have a precedent earlier. So that is very important. And research skill is another important area where they need to look at the legal precedents, read, understand, and dissect what is the judicial interpretation which comes out of any particular subject matter.
Yes, sir.
And the other one is the attention to detail. That is a very, very essential and important skill. In a sea of information, they should be able to pick up the most important points without missing anything. That is one important thing. Then time management and negotiation skills, I would say, interpersonal skills.
So,
to
like
deal
these
with
days,
the client.
yeah, I'm so sorry to interrupt, but
No issues.
as we see
Go ahead.
these days, students are relying a lot on internet, on AI for drafting skills. And do you think that is the correct path, or one should like how much, to what extent one should go for such things, and when should they not rely on it? Do you feel that
At
it's a
least for
reliable platform?
in my view, at least during the foundational years, I would call the first 8 to 10 years post qualification as the foundational years. In these foundational years, they need to follow the traditional method of learning. Otherwise, relying so much on technology, it's not going to help them in the long run. And
Yes,
AI,
sir.
all those, it is all man-made intelligence tools. Okay, it can never think like a human being. It is all
Of course,
written
sir.
in code. So what input you give is the output which comes. It can never be a substitute for a human code. So that aspect needs to be kept in mind by all the students. Unless and until one develops their own drafting skills over a period of time during these foundational years, it's very difficult at the later stage to completely rely on AI and do the work. Of course, these tools acts as a very complementary thing which really supports in the work. It can be used as an additional tool, but not as a substitute for one's own work, basically. For example, a student drafts something, he can review it, refine it, and then finally put it in a AI tool for final, fine tuning and all that. But very initial thing, if he's going to rely on AI, he's not going to think anything on his own. Correct. It will impact the thinking and analytical ability as well, how to, collate the thoughts, how to put forth his viewpoints. All that will not come into play. So that's the downside of it.
So, sir, according to you, they should have good reading skills. They should have an analytical thinking ability, and
Correct.
they should be giving some, like, a lot of attention to details. So that's what I understood.
Exactly.
Yes, sir.
Correct.
So, sir,
And one couple of more things is one is the technology proficiency. That is also very important today,
yes, sir,
especially if they
yes,
are going to work in IT field or fintech space. That to understand the basics of technology, because some of the contracts itself will have a lot of technology terms and all that. So that is also very important. And the commercial or business wisdom and basic or working financial knowledge, that is very important. Because in any legal issues, there'll always be a commercial or financial aspect. So
yes,
grasping the basics of financials and commercials, is something very important. I do see a lot of lawyers are afraid of numbers. There's nothing to be afraid. A basic or building up a basic knowledge in finance is something very, very important.
True,
Like
sir,
reading
true.
a balance sheet, understanding what is a profit and loss account, what is a balance sheet, how to dig out information from an annual report. All that matters actually.
So do these like the finance skills, the financial skills, do you think they're only required to the lawyers who are related to that field, or is it like all of them should be aware of it?
For everybody, it is better to have some basic working knowledge. I don't say that they need to be experts in finance, like an accountant, but a basic knowledge, like for example, in a commercial contract, if there is a dispute, they must be able to understand the financial dynamics of it so that they can negotiate better for their clients. Otherwise, they'll have to rely on some other profession. So more from
Yes,
that
sir.
perspective. Suppose if there is a contractual dispute and you are negotiating for a minimal damage, you need to understand the dynamics of the working of how much damages you can afford to agree. So in
Yes,
those
sir.
instances, it is better to have a basic or working knowledge on the financial aspect so that they'll be able to grasp the issues at hand in a much better way.
Sir, so for the young and uninitiated, are there any specific career tips? So we've already talked about the skills, but other than that, when they are going for the interviews or when they're appearing in places, are there any career tips? Do they need to present themselves a certain way, or do they, have that kind of what kind of presence do they need to have? And those kind of tips, if you could tell us.
Yeah, I will tell you a couple of points in this regard. See, for the young and uninitiated means I would say a freshly qualified law
Yes, sir.
graduate. Okay. For them, this first 8 to 10 years post qualification is a crucial time, actually. I call this as foundational years, though one may call it about a decade. These are the foundational years. If they can effectively build themselves in these foundational years, they can be rest assured that in the later part of their career they will be in a better position, because first 8 to 10 years is the time where they will have some adequate amount of time where they can invest themselves to build their intellectual knowledge, to do research, to network, to uh, to get into debates, to get engage themselves among their peer groups, learn from each other and all that. If they miss these 8 to 10 years and they feel that once they qualify, that's the end of it, then it's going to be very difficult in the later part of it. There needs to
True,
be
true.
strong learning, because your learning starts after you qualify. Actually, what you learn to qualify is more for the exams, more for the academic reasons. What you're going to learn after acquiring this qualification is what is going to keep you in good state in the later part of your career. So that is something very, very important. I would say that any qualified lawyer should spend at least 4 to 5 hours over weekends to continuously update themselves, to engage in their professional development activities, because the law keeps changing, regulations keeps changing. So it is very important if they in these initial years focus on these areas, then it becomes much easier at a later stage. Suppose if they miss in these initial years, it will be very difficult for them to adapt in the later part of their career.
So, sir, one thing is to, get a job and start working somewhere, or, start your career and earn your living. And it's altogether another thing to be a successful legal professional. So, what are those niche skills that one needs to develop that make them, apart from the crowd, and that makes them successful and not just earning their bread and butter?
Yeah. As I said, there are some of niche, there are few niche areas in legal domain itself. It's intellectual property, corporate laws, then fintech space. One has to choose the path which they want to pursue and focus deeply on that. That is very important. Somebody can be an expert in information technology laws, so they can be the go-to person, for any matters in that area. So becoming a domain specialist is something which they can look at actually. That will help
So
them. See,
according
for
to you, the
yeah,
selection
go
of
ahead.
domain should be based on what is running in the market, or it should be a personal choice?
That depends upon person to person. I would say that generally the general way is to know where one is passionate, you focus on that area. That can be one way of doing it. But if the passion area becomes a dominant area for all the other people, you're going to face a lot of competition. correct?
True,
So
sir.
that also has to be kept in mind. For example, as they say in engineering, nobody looks at mechanical or civil engineering. Everybody wants to get into computer science or IT.
Computer science. Yes, sir.
But still, mechanical engineering has a lot of relevance in automobile sector. Civil engineering has a lot of relevance in real estate and construction sector. It has its own value. Similar to that, in legal profession also, there are certain domains where it has immense value, like real estate. If you look at, we are in a broad path in the infrastructure development. So that's one of the niche areas. Fintech space has already caught up. So that is one niche area. Pharma industries, R&D. So these are all intellectual property oriented. So one has to carefully evaluate the market dynamics and understand where there is space, and then choose their path. They can even choose the most dominant path as well, but succeeding there is you really have to put your best, more than your best, to come on the top.
That's true, sir. What do you think would be the challenges that these students, as they step into the world of professionalism, would face, either in practice or employment? Like, if they go for practice or if they go for some job, what would be the
See,
challenges?
in practice, the most difficult challenge would be they'll be looked as freshers. It's very difficult to get assignments, so they need to network well. They need to get associated with the lawyers or other practicing professionals, or they can have a peer network and then try to help each other. That is one of the challenges they will have to face in the initial years. And in the initial years, they have to look for the work. At the same time, they need to professionally develop themselves. So they need to do the business, they need to do the marketing, they need to service their clients, and they also have to continuously learn. That's one of the most difficult challenges in the initial years. And the other challenge would be, it would be long hours of working, could impact one's work-life balance. That would be high stress and pressure. Demanding clients will be there, and sometimes there'll be financial pressures. So one has to have a lot of resilience to handle all this. And if one keeps the mind open and take things the way it comes and deals with it without you know pressurizing themselves, I think they can still move on. And the attitude and perspective also matters, especially in professional development. If somebody thinks I've graduated now, so I don't have to learn, then it is a problem. If somebody thinks learning is like reading a book or watching a movie, they will enjoy it. Like in a weekend, we watch movies, they will take a book and read for 2 hours, 3 hours, and then throw it and then move on to the other work. So that's how it has to be. If you think learning is a task which you have to do because you have to update, then it becomes very difficult. The mind doesn't focus. It has to be like your normal way of doing other things, like watching a movie or going out, like that, chatting with friends, something like that. You need to consider learning. If you take it that way, it's easier. Then you become more inquisitive. It'll be more interesting to learn new things. Otherwise, it's going to be difficult. And similarly,
The,
other challenge could be whether you want to be a generalist or specialist in the initial stages. If you're a specialist, then you will be building a niche area that takes a longer time. Generalist, whatever comes, you can take that. So it all depends upon what sort of rewards they expect in the initial stages.
So I was reading about your achievements and I was really mesmerized. And I really personally also want to ask this question to you. So, how did you balance all this? And how did you have, like, you have such a huge area of expertise, like, be it your, in the auditing standard board or anything else. And then at the same time, you are doing compliance for prohibition and readdressal of sexual harassment. So how did you like balance all this, sir? I really want to know this. How did you keep your learning spirit so up, and what was your mantra?
Yeah, that's what I would say. During the initial stages of my career, it's good that I realized that learning is a constant process. There is no end to it, especially in domains like where we work actually. So I used to, in the initial days after my, qualification, after I acquired my qualification, I used to be visiting faculties. I used to prepare materials for, students. and I used to write articles and all that. So that ensured that, I constantly, kept learning and supporting
So
your,
from where did you find from where did you find that spirit? Like, did you not feel sometime like, oh, it's enough, I don't want to take this further? Like, how did you keep that alive, that learning spirit? So
I think one of the reasons for me to, keep that alive was during the initial stages, I never had a mentor in terms of my work, actually. Most
okay.
of my seniors were not wanting to get into the area I was handling, so they left out me completely. That was, I don't know whether that was a plus or a minus, but somehow because I've been left alone, I had to constantly ensure that I do things right. I do research well before I, get into a work or complete a work. So that helped me to, become more inquisitive, more engaged, to undertake more research and all that. And to keep yourself, constantly in the mode of learning, you will have to find ways and means. You can't, sit alone and read all the time. That leads to fatigue at times. So how do you engage yourself? When you teach to somebody, you'll have to learn more. You'll have to prepare yourself better because there could be a lot of questions which could come. There could be a lot of doubts which you might not have thought about. So these are the things, which kept me learning. And in terms of my other certifications and all that, it all acquired, over a period of time because whenever I was in different domains, in different industries, I thought this kind of learning would also help. And, that's the way forward, actually.
So we've talked about the internal challenges that you should keep your spirit alive and you should uh, develop your skills continuously. So can you speak a bit
Mhm.
about the challenges that people face from the outside world as well? Because there's always too much of competition. As you mentioned earlier, like in niche areas, there still might be lesser people, but in general areas where there's a lot of
Mhm.
competition. So how does a person deal with all those external challenges?
The external challenges, basically, the primary external challenges would be, evolving legal and regulatory environment because law keeps constantly changing. So despite your work pressure and all that, you still have to keep learning. That is one of the significant challenges, actually. Unless and until you commit a time for yourself to ensure that you read and update yourselves, it's going to be difficult. That is one. Other one is competition from the same professionals or other allied professionals like company secretary, chartered accountants, cost accountants, and all that. For instance, in the company law tribunals, all these professionals are entitled to appear. Similarly, there are other forums, quasi-judicial forums, where these other professionals are also entitled to appear. In some of the cases, they may have a different kind of domain experience. They will have some exposure to commercial aspects, financial aspects, tax aspects, and all that. So that's the reason I said in the initial stages, this young lawyer should also have some working knowledge in financial and commercial aspects, so that helps them to face the competition. Apart from that, there could be like, business development is one area for people who are into private practice. And if they are going to join a firm or an organization, adapting to the culture of the organization, complexities, interpersonal environment, that these are going to be the external challenges.
Okay, thank you so much, sir. If there's something that you would like to add further, because we only left with 5 minutes, we understand that you also have a lot of things on your plate. So, if you would like to,
Yeah,
add on something else.
yeah. In my closing remarks, probably I would say to the students to define their own path, whether they're going to choose practice in a large firm or a small boutique practice they want to do on their own, or they want to choose to work in a government or the judicial services. Success doesn't come easily. It's a long road to success. And there is no single right path which one can choose, actually. You will have to adapt, customize as you go along. So that's how the journey will be. And be true to themselves. They have to be true to themselves. And success comes, success goes. There'll always be ups and downs. One doesn't have to get bogged down because of that. And in terms of achieving success, I would suggest stay curious, stay committed, stay connected to the values which you will have, and always discuss with your peers, get networked well, so that will ensure that you constantly develop yourselves, and and you'll be one of the eminent persons in financial. And I wish all the best for the students.
Yes, sir. Sir, we would like to have you again in person
Yeah,
also, and mentor our
sure,
students here. And we will also
definitely,
appreciate if
definitely.
there's one-on-one mentoring happening. Other than that,
Sure,
sir,
sure.
I wish you all the best, and that's about it, sir. Thank you so much,
Yeah,
sir.
thank you, Apurva. Thank you for the opportunity to speak to the students of JGLS. It's been a wonderful opportunity to contribute to the as an alumni of JGLS. Thanks a lot. Good day to you.
Yeah, thank you, sir. Thank you.
Thank